one moment in real life that translates almost exactly to what happens in your series?
Oh, yeah, well, all of those moments that you see really happened. I may have exaggerated a bit for comedy, but yeah, it's like one of those things, part of my language, but you can't write this shit. Like, I have to put this in a series because this is hilarious. And I had so many people reaching out to me who are also in this multi-ethnic category, and people don't know what to do with them. And they're like, thank you for writing this. Oh my God, I've been waiting. This is the story of my life. But one that stands out to me is the Native American scene. So I auditioned for Workaholics, and the role said Native American woman. Now I'm Creole, which there is. I do in LA. You have to have some Native American blood to play Native American. That is just as it should be. So, and the Native American actors in LA, it's a very small community. They all know each other. So I went out for this audition, and I'm in this room with all of these beautiful Native American actors who know each other. And then one of them leans over and was like, "Hi, I've never seen you before. What reservation do you live on?" And I was like, "Reservation of Sherman Oaks?" And I'm laughing, and they're like, well, you know, I don't live on a reservation. I didn't realize that was a prerequisite to be here. And no, we just wondered. And they were just looking at me like, who is this? Who is this? And here I was again feeling, I'm not even Native American enough. I'm not black enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not Native American enough. And ironically, I ended up getting the role. And I was the one that wasn't Native American enough. So that was a true story, and it kind of went down just like that in the audition.
Wow, love it. All right. Well, huge round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Are you giving me a t-shirt?
All right, so next up we have Pepper Ricochet. Big round of applause for that.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kara Swiecek. I'm a New York City-based actor, writer, producer, and I've directed the next 2 chapters of the Pepper Project, which I entitled Pepper Ricochet, which is here at MWF2021. Brian, thank you as well. And the first live COVID festival. All right! I'm just honored. My whole team is blessed to be here. Pepper Ricochet, Pepper Project is about a ex-CIA spy. It's a female-centered spy thriller.
It's on right now. Look.
There we go. There we go. That's it. So these 2 episodes I shot on location. One at a beautiful lake house a little further up from Monticello, up from the city, and then I also shot in the city in a very interesting stairwell, which I'll never forget those 12 hours in 4 inches. I created the project much like some other people have said because I think it's very valuable and important for us if you are a creator as well as an actor or producer director to create your own work and your own opportunities. Women especially, things are getting slightly better, but we're still, as was just referenced by beautifully by Ethically Ambiguous, very difficult to break out of certain molds. And what I was finding when I was about maybe 8 years ago when I started creating this, a little longer than that, was that there were certain roles that I was being typecast in, and it was either you were a real depressed mess or you were a total bitch. And there really wasn't a spectrum in between, and I thought a lot of the roles were boring and not challenging and didn't have a lot of depth. So I created a character that had a lot of depth, who had an interesting journey, who has a lot of challenges, and actually faces a lot of loss. And I think that there is some focus on loss and getting over loss and how you pivot with challenges personally, but I think that it sometimes goes down a certain path, and I wanted to explore something different from a very strong female viewpoint who is very vulnerable as well. So that's my mix. I have a great cast. I'm really happy that we're here. Any questions?
All right, time for questions. All right, have a question. How did you prepare for the role?
How did I prepare for the role? Especially this last one, some fight choreography training. It is suspense thriller action. Researching CIA, police. Also researching, going back to history a little bit more of my Catholic roots, because there is a string. You see the rosary beads come up in this two chapters. There is a strain of religion and what does that mean, and what's hanging over our heads with what we grow up with and what we use and what we don't use and what we then attach ourselves to. Again, it's a place to be grounded. So I did some more of that, kind of came back to those roots. And partnerships, and different kinds of partnerships, because Pepper has different partners that she plays with and also fights with. So those kind of character things. Great question, Brian.
Absolutely. Everybody, give her a huge round of applause. All right, next up we have Tech Betties.
Brian, thank you for having me here, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody that I haven't already met. I'm Mary McGloin. I am co-creator and lead actor of Tech Betties. And Tech Betties is a workplace comedy about women in tech. It follows the story of Cass, an experienced ballsy quality assurance engineer at a crossroads in her life, and she's recruited by stealth mode internet startup Vdimi.com to move from San Francisco to New York City's Silicon Valley to join their team. And then there's Bailey, who's a broke and barely making it in the big city, and she needs a job, any job, to pay her rent and save her cat. So she takes the job of office manager. And the two women find quickly, as the only two women this company has ever seen, that they need to join forces in order to survive the social ineptitude of their male counterparts. The company they work for, its product is ridiculous. It's a VR/AR dating app, and the technology is not quite there yet, and who knows if they'll ever get there. The company is run by a brilliant but insecure trust fund baby, a new age hippie who snorts coke, and is staffed by a conspiracy theorist, a boob starer, a possible love interest for Cass, two pun-loving pranksters, and eventually they'll be joined by another woman who is a weird but brilliant developer, who is also an undercover FBI agent. And what you see in the festival is the pilot of the web series version. I have since these have been going around to festivals, during the pandemic I started working with a showrunner named Jerry Perzigian, who was showrunner for Golden Girls. He teaches in New York, and he encouraged me to develop it into a half-hour comedy. So now I'm using these episodes as a proof of concept to try to get funded to do the show as a TV show.
Awesome, right on.
So that's where it's at.
Beautiful. All right, I can hear some questions in the audience. Feel the question.
I actually have one.
Yes.
Oh.
So I'm also doing the same thing with ethnically reviews where I'm turning it into a pilot. Turning it into a pilot, and I'm going to pitch it. Do you have a plan as far as where you're going to pitch it, or do you know how you're going to go about getting it on a net? Because that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'll actually talk a little bit about that, because my day job, which the show is not about, I have to specify. My day job is still in tech. I do work as a QA engineer in real life, and I'm also an actor. And I work at Showtime in their tech department. And I don't have an agent, but I was able to get a meeting with a CFO who put me in touch with somebody in original programming who I kind of in a mentor state watched these episodes and was like, this is great, can I show it to my colleagues? And I'm like, of course you can. And it ended up getting like we encourage you to keep forging your own path. But I have another show. It's a cartoon. And I was at, Showtime's owned by Viacom CBS. Viacom CBS also owns Nickelodeon. And I was at a talk where the head of programming for Nickelodeon was there, and I said, how would someone like get a show in front of you? And she was like, well, you know, if you email me and ask for submission release, I'll read your script. And I was like,
Hey now.
okay. So that happened, and I was actually able to pitch Nickelodeon this way. And you know, all these pitch contests will be like, you have 2 minutes. I'm like, no, you get like half an hour. You're supposed to pitch for about 15 minutes, and then they'll ask you questions, and it's supposed to be a conversation. They ended up reading the script, they ended up passing on it, but I got a very nice pass letter I feel actually pretty good about. It's not the Nickelodeon brand of humor, it's more sweet. So I would say just like work all of the connections you have. And the other thing is like, what networks does your show really fit in? Like, because they do really worry about like, Nickelodeon's brand of humor is kind of like, it's funny, but it's like obnoxious kid humor. Versus like, Disney is more sweet humor. And so that kind of thing. So for Tech Buddies, there's some swearing in it. It's not a lot of, it's definitely not like a NBC, CBS network, because they can't use the F word. So it's kind of like find those niches and then try to find like who you can get in, to meet, to get in the room and just keep talking to people is my, and also I've heard roadmap writers is good. And so yeah, just networking, coming to places like this, talking to people who do the same thing.
That's great.
So
Thank you, Mary.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Huge round of applause. All right, next up we have, first of all, let me just say, I am so excited and grateful to be in the room with so many female directors.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen a lot, needs to happen more. It's happening here, and I'm so glad that it is. You guys keep doing what you're doing. And next up we have Hammersmith.
That was a hilarious intro for a straight white man to walk up to. But here we are.
Did I set you up, my bad?
You already wanted something.
Yeah.
I thought you were coming up with your girlfriend.
Well, no, yeah, she's with her sister. Hi, my name's Kyle Leland. I wrote and directed and did a little bit of acting in Hammersmith. And Hammersmith is a little bit of a 2-for-1. Half of it is action, spy, thriller about Ryan Hammersmith. The other half of it is about the narcissistic, arrogant asshole who's making this terrible action film. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. It's a mockumentary and an action film cut between each other. So it's pretty fun. There's 7 episodes of it coming out later this year.
What was your favorite aspect of producing this?
Well, it was a pretty crazy experience because it was originally just a 5-minute short film that we made for the 48-hour film project. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just it's like a timed competition. And we ended up winning that, and then we ended up winning the international one, which was in Paris, and so it got to screen at the Cannes Film Festival like a couple years ago. So all of the cast and crew wanted to come, so we were like, we should just make it a web series and shoot some of it in Paris. So that's what we did. So we kind of just all went there and stayed at like one Airbnb and like slept in hammocks and stuff. So we shot the climax of the web series, which is episode 6 and 7, in Paris, like on the streets of Paris. The director eventually loses his mind and he gets drunk and he's running around the city. And in Paris, you can just film. You don't need a permit or anything, which is awesome. So shooting it there was definitely the highlight. But it was a challenge because we actually decided to make it a 7-episode web series like 2 weeks, like a month before we were going to Paris. So we decided to write the whole thing, but then shoot the last 2 episodes before the first 5, which was super confusing, but a lot of fun, And then after that, we kind of just had fun with it and shot the rest of it once we got back from that. So we shot it in Paris and Chicago.
Very cool. So, was there anything you didn't like about filming in Paris?
I mean, Parisians are just the worst, right? We were shooting one scene that was out on the, like, just outside of our Airbnb. That's like him drunk on the street, and he's like screaming and stuff. And we're shooting this scene, and we're like, oh, we should shoot it like right after sunset at like 9 o'clock or whatever. And so of course there's always delays. And so before we know it, we're shooting this scene, and like it's 1 a.m. And I'm telling the actor to tone it down. Like, can you just just yell your lines a bit quietly. But every time he does it, he's just yelling as loud as he can. Eventually, it's like we're like, okay, cut, okay, let's do it again. And then somebody just taps me on the shoulder and it's like, Kyle, look up. And so I kind of stop and I turn around. Literally, this entire street just has like 50 different French people just staring at us out their windows. But they were like surprisingly quiet, but their faces weren't quiet. So we were like, oh, pardon, let's just cut it. So we ended up having to extend one of the actors' flights one day, and we shot the rest of it the next night. So we got it. It worked out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to get some nice French glares your way. It's good.
Awesome. Who else has a question? You got a question?
What's your goal with the series? Where do you want to take it?
World domination. Just everywhere. No, I actually have an idea for like a 30-minute comedy pilot that's similar to this, but like kind of similar themes and similar setting, but it would be a different type. This one, I think this one works best on YouTube. It's just good for people to just watch for free. So I kind of just want as many people to watch it as possible on YouTube, and then use it to, open some doors and get some meetings for a bigger project.
Awesome. How about a huge round of applause? All right, next up we have Awkwardly.
Hey everyone. Whose purse is this?
That's a cute purse. Did you want it there? Okay.
If it's got money in it, it's mine.
I was like, just so you know, that's what, thank you.
I'm always the mother hen of that. I'm like, someone's going to be concerned and I don't want to be responsible. So my name is Nikki Coble. I'm the creator and producer of Awkwardly, and I also played Callie, who is a very sweet mess in episode 14, which you'll see here, History, and episode 15. She's a pining former flame of John Werke, who's also nominated for Best Comedic Actor. And I edited the whole piece and directed one. We had 9 women and non-binary directors, so I'm very happy to be in this room with all of you. Not to diss any of the men, I love everyone who's here, but I certainly love celebrating women. And we're an ensemble comedy series, so we had 20 episodes where each of the main characters have 2 back-to-back episodes, and everything comes together in a full circle chain of connection. So we start in an Astoria, that's where I live, Astoria liquor store, where what's the best word? Where a heartbroken young woman is going into the liquor store and gets carded and has an experience with the man that is the clerk at the liquor store, and everything comes full circle by when he sends her to the back. By episode 20, you find who she meets in the back of the store. But this full circle chain of connection is meant to remind us that we're all connected awkwardly by life's awkward moments. So if you're watching episode 9, we brought in episode 14. So I mentioned that episode 14 is about 2 old flames that are stuck in a moment together, realizing that there might still be some heat there. That's myself and John Werke. And then episode 9 is called Warm and Fuzzy, and that is about a online date that gets a little spicy and is quite a surprise for Stacy, who is meeting this gentleman for the first time and learns a lot more about him than she planned. So we were about 75% crowdfunded initially, and we had investors come on board afterwards. We premiered at Tribeca Screening Room in 2018,
And it was basically just an excuse for me to hang out with about 30 of my friends and share snacks with them and just kind of bask in how talented they are. And we've had a wonderful ride on the web series World Cup circuit, and I'm so excited to be finishing up here with Miami Web Fest, which the suspense has been awesome to kind of delay it a year. It's frustrating for some, but it's been cool to just be like, oh, we have that thing that's coming up that we're going to have a great time and meet a lot of wonderful people.
Awesome. I'm going to let you guys ask some questions. We have some, all right?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Monica, Creative Nun Habits. I also live in New York, and it sounds like you assembled a really awesome team of women and non-binary people. What was it like working in that community with all those people, and how did you assemble that team? Like, what was the process that you went through to get all of those people on board?
Oh, fantastic. So I fall in love a lot with humans, and I feel like there were a lot of people in my community that I really wanted to work with, and I was admiring their work. And one of them was our DP, our cinematographer, Ryan Metcalf. We were friends randomly on Facebook. Neither of us knows why, because that happens sometimes, right, when you're in the same community as people. And I was looking at his work, and I thought, this is fantastic. Everything he's shooting, he shot on a red camera, and I thought that it looked exactly like something on ABC, which is exactly the kind of tone I wanted for my show. And so because I knew that DP was going to be with me on every single episode, he would be my right hand, I knew that I needed to balance that out. And so we made it a point to work with women and non-binary directors, and they were, I think, 3 of them also act in it, one of them being me, and then everybody else either is either an actor or an actor and a writer. And so there were people that I had come across and reached out to and just said, hey, we're going to jam on this, and I would love to bring you along for the ride. The challenging thing was we started fundraising right before Sandy, so we launched our Kickstarter right before Sandy, and then felt terrible to be doing that through Sandy, so we were having to kind of pull back and say, oh, I'm so sorry, this is a terrible time and your money could go to a lot of places, but we'd love it if you share it with us, if you have any to share. And so we really wanted to make a point that we were highlighting that we were putting women to work and non-binary people to work. And then beyond that, it was about pairing up the cast as people that I knew and loved, people that are in their 70s, people that are in their 20s, and combining kind of a tapestry of humans that I thought were really great and who hadn't been showcased. And so that just became a beautiful puzzle of who do I put together? Oh, I'm going to put together this older couple and have them meet with, like, designing the scenes around who I had. And so it kind of started like that. But the challenge for the directors was that none of them saw 2 scenes back to back that they were directing together because the script just wasn't ready. And so I don't know if any of you follow Wallace and Gromit, but does anybody here? Yes? So smart. There's one of him, and I'm sure you all know what this is, but in a cart on the train tracks where the dog is in the cart throwing the train tracks in front of the vehicle as it careens down in a mine or something like that. And that's exactly what the process felt like, because I started scheduling as a producer before I had everything written. I had about 6 episodes written out of 20, and I had a handful of locations around. And then as I started to kind of put the puzzle pieces together, there was one of them that was written 4 days before we did it, and we only shot over 12 days, not consecutively. But we had such a great time, and everybody brought such great energy together, so we had a blast. Thank you. I look forward to catching your series too. Other views? Yes, exactly. We're on the same wavelength there. It's great, but that's exactly what it is to produce your own work, right? Because a lot of times it's financial. If you feel like there's no one else around who's going to do it for free and you're talented enough to do that, I mean, don't take it all on if you can't, but sometimes you do it just out of necessity. And I learned a lot of new skills editing on Premiere, but I know now in the future why there are people who do that specifically. Yeah. Right? So anytime, when you get to the point where you can hire other people but you know what you're doing because you've done it before, that's the sweet spot, I think. So may we all get there.
Awesome.
Thanks, cheers.
All right, huge round of applause. Next up, we have Natalie and Tara Try Stuff.
try stuff for the first time. Why do we always just do that automatically?
That's how we start every show. We have a show called Natalie and Tara Try Stuff. It is a ongoing web series where we, as best friends, go and try things for the first time. So unicycling, flyboarding, live octopus, whatever we can think of. And it's on its 5th season.
Yes. Yeah, we've been doing it weekly for almost 5 years now. We've done probably well over 300 episodes at this point. Yeah, more than that because we do like bonus episodes as well. So we have been constantly churning out web content for a really long time.
And we, it's just a 2-man crew.
Yep,
she edits everything. I do all the pre-work, and then we just do it. Just keep doing it. What's up?
All right, we have a question already.
Is there anything you regret trying?
I got one recently. So I started this new thing that I'm doing. It's called Surprise Jello Molds.
I regret this.
So I will start an episode. Tara thinks we're going to be filming one thing, and then I'm like, surprise! I made a Jello mold, and I made a tuna salad one recently for her. I thought it was amazing. It actually did taste really good.
It actually was a good flavor. It's just that you shouldn't put gelatin into tuna fish. That doesn't make sense to me. Why? I'm a mental eater. I think my least favorite thing that we did, we went to the Disgusting Food Museum, which was a traveling museum that was going around. And the point of the museum was to highlight that some foods that you think are disgusting are actually in food culture normal for other people, and they think that your food is disgusting. Amazing lesson learned. I learned I did not care for century eggs, which are an egg that is basically gelatinized and rotted. Yes, and it's a delicacy in another country. People love them.
I don't know exactly where.
I don't know exactly where. I don't remember.
Atlas of Tears got in trouble because they said the wrong country, and I'm not going to try it.
No, we're not going to try it. We're definitely, but it was very hard for me to eat that, and I ran away from part of it, and I sat under the table like this for most.
I tried it first, and I said, don't do this. Don't do it.
I really wanted to try. We really want to try things and broaden our worldview, and that's kind of what the show has become for us. So I don't want to shy away from things, but I sometimes have to.
Wow. What's the most dangerous thing that you've done?
We tried to learn to unicycle.
That's really good.
We've gone on Bigfoot hunts.
No, that was dangerous.
We probably have Lyme disease now. And,
No, we went on a Bigfoot hunt, which first off,
in the middle of Oklahoma.
we went for a film festival. We decided to go Bigfoot hunting. So we met some local Bigfoot hunters, and they took us out there. We've gone twice now.